I'm such a huge fan of this guy. I mean, Billy Ray is not only a great screenwriter, award-winning screenwriter, but he is one of Hollywood's most respected storytellers, and he oftentimes turns real-life drama into unforgettable films. So he's the guy behind Shattered Glass, Captain Phillips, Richard Jewell, and this deep research he does, the sharp writing he does, a knack for tension in every story he tells. He has a gift for exploring truth, power, and that gray area in between. He is a go-to voice for smart, gripping, character-driven films. And he, on top of all of that, is a brilliant political activist. How about it for friend of the show, Billy Ray, everybody. Look at you. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've seen you. You look
so
great.
Good to be with you.
Yeah. So, Billy, I don't know where to start. You know, if we had a longer time to visit, we talk about Hollywood and we talk about the changing face of AI in Hollywood. And I'd still love to touch on it maybe toward the end of our conversation. But I sort of feel with the five-alarm fire that's going on in Washington, and you've made films about the Trump administration in season one of Trump when he was meeting with Comey and at the dinner. I remember that was a riveting scene in that Showtime special. It was a film, like really two films over 2 nights. I wonder if you can give me a sense of how you see Trump having consolidated power, it would seem, in now season 2, in his second 4-year term, and how, and this is what strikes me, how America is a different place than I thought it was 4 years ago.
Well, first of all, great to be with you. But the founders of the Constitution, the framers of the Constitution, they saw Donald Trump coming. They built all kinds of backstops and escape valves into the Constitution to get rid of a would-be despot. What they did not see coming was Mike Johnson as Speaker of the House. They made the legislative body Article 1 of the Constitution. It was the most important part of the Constitution. And it never occurred to them that a Mike Johnson would show up and just lay down for a president, that a Mike Johnson as Speaker of the House would voluntarily just surrender all power in order to please that despot. They didn't build a fail-safe to that document for that. The fail-safe to that is us. That's what we need to do now, gearing up for 2026, so that we actually put a balance of power back into our government. It does not exist at the moment.
Billy, it strikes me, though, in addition to MAGA Mike Johnson, you also have a party that's been entirely cowed by Trump, or they see a route to retaining power. I don't know. I think there are a lot of different sort of reasons that everybody's fallen in line, but they nonetheless have fallen in line. And that's allowed Mike Johnson and his leadership to, sort of be on a glide path in a way that they wouldn't likely have seen. We wouldn't have seen, I think, had there been any pushback on the part of the GOP.
There was a famous philosopher who said that all that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And that's what you're seeing right now. Otherwise, decent people who have completely sacrificed their own personal ethos, their own integrity, in order for this White House to do what it wants. And that has to do with a desire for political power. It has to do with financial greed. In some cases, it has to do with religious zealotry. And in some cases, it has to do with just out and out white nationalism. And those people are all sort of glomming onto the phenomenon that is Trump and using it for their own purposes, and of course getting used at the same time.
One of the things that struck me is the way in which Trump campaigned and the electorate, and I think generally, and even in polling, a lot of people, even those Democrats and Republicans, rallied around the notion that sort of the bleeding at the border had to be stopped. That the southern border was just really too porous, wasn't being administered well. Of course, Trump, kneecapped that bill that was supposed to really would have taken care of a lot of this. But in any case, what's happened now is a conflation of that border policy and this ICE expansion, which includes going to high school graduations, to slaughterhouses, to agricultural fields, to restaurants, and just picking people up, many of whom are American citizens or are here legally, and they're getting thrown in vans by guys who are masked with no markings. And Americans, to the point, are not as good with that. I mean, in polling, that's not polling as well as the southern border stuff, but the conflation of the two has created a momentum to this immigration policy, and it's pretty hard to stop.
Again, it'll come back to the people stopping it. Trump is underwater on the economy for the first time in either presidency. He's underwater on immigration for the first time in either presidency. People do not like what they're seeing. They don't believe that masked people without displaying badges or court orders or warrants should be able to go into a Home Depot and just arrest people based on the color of their skin. People do not believe in Alcatraz as an expression of a decent country. But the focus that I have now is not on Trump, believe it or not. And it's not on complaining about Trump, because the fact is we've been telling America that Trump is an asshole for 10 years. And in each election, his vote total grows. What my focus is the Democratic Party and fixing it and making it own its own hypocrisy and its own dishonesty and its own excess so that the American people can trust it once again. I've been flying all over the country to talk to Democrats, especially progressives, about the way that we are pushing voters away, the way that the language we've been using and the messaging we've been using and the policies we've been fighting for are actually turning off the middle of the country in a way that is dangerous now. We have a moral obligation to win and to rescue our democracy. And we have to find a way to do that will bring more people into the tent of the party, not push them out. And that's been the thing that I really hope to talk to you about today.
That makes total sense, given the fact that the Democrats actually poll worse than that poorly polling president that you're talking about. So, look,
the party right now is slightly more popular than syphilis, and there's a reason for that. May I give you a couple examples?
Please. And I'd also like to know what messaging you feel we should default to, or it's your turn.
Okay. First, 68% of this country is Christian. 88% of the homes in this country have a Bible. The average has 4. In the Democratic platform in 2024, there were mentions of Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, and Islam. Do you know how many mentions of Christianity there were in our platform? 0. Not 1. 0. Not only is that political suicide, it's discriminatory. As someone who's not Christian, it's deeply offensive to me. You can't say to 68% of the country, you don't matter. Or worse, you're the problem. What I ask my electeds to do, I'm doing messaging for 80 or 85 sitting members of the House and Senate right now. And what I'm asking them to do is to say these 6 things out loud. They are incontrovertibly true. They are empirically true, but they are a violation of democratic orthodoxy, which is our entire problem. Ready? See if you can challenge any of these, just on a truthfulness basis. Wanting secure borders does not make you a racist. It does not. Okay? Owning a gun does not make you a school shooter. Okay? They're not the same thing. Disagreeing with us on abortion does not make you a fascist. No, it does not. You can disagree with us on abortion and still be someone that we welcome into our party. Being unsure about vaccines does not make you a flat earther. Lots of smart people are unsure about vaccines. They belong in our party too. Maleness is not inherently toxic. Oh my God, do we have to get over that one? And being a Christian is not the same thing as being a white nationalist. These are incontrovertibly true.
As you run
when Democrats start saying them out loud, We will get the votes in the big middle, which is where the wins have always been. We will bring independence back into our party. We will stop sounding condescending, superior, smug, and out of touch. When we stop telling people that they have to say justice-involved individuals instead of criminals. When we stop telling people they have to say unhoused instead of homeless, or pregnant person instead of pregnant woman. When we stop that, we will win. And we have a moral obligation to do so. You cannot help transgender people by losing elections.
Well, that's a really powerful series of messages. And I wonder, honestly, Billy, if all of these things that you mention land, like we've heard it, how much of it is the right lifting what is not really a mainstream part of the Democratic message and turning it into all about trans, all about
of course they do that.
Correctness.
Of course they do that. But we make it easy. You might notice that AOC, the famed leader of the squad, has taken the pronouns off of her website. She figured it out. Everybody's figuring it out. I'm going and speaking to rooms full of progressive people. And I'm saying to them, we're doing this all wrong. We're embracing we are forgetting to embrace the very people that we need. And we've got to stop. We've got to stop trying to win the woke Olympics. We've got to stop being the pronoun police. This is how we lose. And we have a moral obligation to win. They stand up and cheer. They rush forward and say, thank you. I got flown out to Virginia to give a speech, literally to a room of 1,000 progressives, 95% of them women. They all rushed forward and said, thank you. No one's saying this. No one's saying this. Then I was brought into this room to do some work with a workshop with 25 candidates running for the House of Delegates in Virginia. The room held 25. 100 people came in. And there was no AC. They were standing along the wall because nobody's talking like this. The Democratic Party has to recognize its own hypocrisy, its own excess. Stop worrying about what the mainstream media is doing. Stop worrying about what Fox is doing or what CNN is doing in an effort to look fair and balanced, which is giving a microphone to insane people. We need to clean up our own house. We need to stop saying what we're against, and we need to start saying what we're for. We just dropped $6.7 billion on an election cycle. And if you stopped any American in the street and said, what does the Democratic Party stand for? He can't tell you. He has no idea. And if pushed, he'd say, I know you hate Trump. I know you love abortion, open borders, and trans people. That's our brand. It's hardly the new frontier. And we need to do better. And then the people will come.
Tony, do you have the town hall? I wanted to play that for Billy Ray. There is pushback in the world of town halls, as you might expect, GOP town halls. You made me think of it when you talked about, these various forums in which you're speaking. But I just want you to see a little bit of the pushback that some of these GOP Congress people are getting. Go ahead, Tony.
That's why they don't do town halls.
Yeah, I think that's exactly
President Trump seems to run Southeast Wisconsin through you.
I was always under the impression that Congress was responsible for issuing the tariff. I really feel that this is a terrible tax that's going to be placed upon the citizens of the United States.
This really, at its core, needs to be an opportunity to make sure that other countries are treating the United States fairly. The United States, I'm not looking. I want to be able to get through as many of your questions as we can.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will never get questions if we can't keep the auditorium quiet.
It's not politics, it's morality. I care about people. And what I see happening to our immigrant population embarrasses me. You have not raised a voice to complain about it. Where do I see your leadership? I see no leadership. I see following Trump 100% of the time. And Trump's lead has been...
Okay, Tony, thank you. You get the vibe. This is real pushback. It's like, why are you guys just henchmen for this guy who doesn't care about civil rights, human rights, and is able to just flex, and you guys salute.
Yeah, again, it's focusing on them and what they're doing and their dishonesty. We already know about that. What are we as a party doing? What are we doing that is saying to the United States of America, to the citizens, give us power, this is what we're going to deliver for you? In other words, I don't think America wants us to complain about Trump. I think America wants us to say, okay, they're taking a chainsaw to the VA. Here's what we're going to go do for vets. Here's how we're going to create relationships with the private sector in your community so that vets are still taken care of. Okay, they're trying to get rid of Medicaid. They're trying to kick you off Medicaid. Here's what we, as the Democratic Party, are going to do to try to protect you. Make it about the voter and make it about the Democratic Party as the only champion, the only advocate that that party has. The thing about social media is, at least the algorithm that feeds me, is it is a bunch of Democrats complaining and agreeing with each other about Trump. Okay, true, and maybe necessary to blow off steam, but not particularly helpful. And it will not help us build our brand. Our brand is we try to bring more people into the middle class. We are working for working people, their health, their welfare, their well-being, their future. That's our mission, right? We believe that small businesses need more help than big businesses do. We believe that labor needs to be protected everywhere. We believe that the middle class and the working class need to be protected from a tax code that overwhelmingly favors the rich. We believe that our greatness comes from our goodness. We believe that we have to stand up for vets, the elderly, and kids. We believe that every American matters and no American matters more than anybody else. That's our brand. We will win more running on that than we will by pissing off 68% of the electorate.
Sure, and that's a great run. I mean, what you've just said is a great run. It's and this is sort of in your sweet spot, like doing the reducto on that, finding messaging that can be repeated and that can find its way into the public forums. That's really the challenge, isn't it? Because they successfully messaged, and as you say, there was no message. The Kamala Harris campaign had so much momentum going into it was this short campaign, kind of the way I'd like to see all presidential campaigns actually be. But it was momentum. It seemed blunted by the fact that there wasn't really a clean message that was getting through. Wouldn't you say?
I would absolutely say. And look, you cannot call people weird and ask for their vote at the same time. Like these are things that are just contradictory. You can't do that. Our tent needs to get bigger. All that matters is winning. That's it. I don't care if you agree with me on abortion or not. You may have religious reasons why that is just anathema to you. Okay. But you still believe in democracy. You still believe in the Constitution, right? You still believe in lowering the cost of insulin. You still believe in clean water and clean air. You still believe in Social Security and Medicaid. Well, then you're a Democrat. You may not know it, but you're a Democrat. And you need to be welcomed back into this party because we don't want to give you anywhere else to go. We need your vote.
I want to ask you this question, and you're kind of the perfect guy to ask. Trump is a generational political figure, loathsome, I think, but he is truly, I think, without peer when it comes to the sort of, again, I'll just call it charisma or this cult that he's built. It appeals to masculinity. It appeals to, people are sparked to his perceived wealth and success, even though that was a fraud, of course. But the idea that this guy is someone who is intimidating, uses his power, and was able to build this coalition behind him is, I think, generational as a political figure, as I say. Now, this gets to the part that I feel is about you. If you kind of put it in show business terms, he's like a lead, a male lead that is so great that everybody goes to the theater to see the film regardless of what the film is about. And the reason I kind of put it in that way is I'm getting to the Democrats. The message I think that you've suggested is so very powerful. They still need a male lead, and sadly, it has to be a white male lead. I just think that's what I'm learning about America, and I'm not crazy about it, but I'd love your impressions. Is that true? Don't you think even Biden? Last thing, and I'll let you speak. Even Biden was doing some great things for regular Americans. I mean, his legislative record was actually quite impressive. The infrastructure bill was expansive and transformational, and yet, because he was doddering and old, he didn't have the kind of charismatic dynamic to sell his own accomplishments. And so this guy could come up and just talk crap about him, and you end up with a kind of asymmetry to the two of them. So do we need this male lead to extend the parallel, and who might it be?
Okay, it's going to be a long answer, so forgive me. Okay. In the Civil War, the Union Army kept firing general after general because everyone kept losing battles to Robert E. Lee. Finally, Lincoln brings in Ulysses S. Grant, and Grant meets with all of his staff, all of his generals, and they keep talking about Bobby Lee this and Bobby Lee that, and what Bobby Lee can do, and how Bobby Lee made them look bad. And he said, "Stop talking about Bobby Lee. Stop thinking about what Bobby Lee's doing to you, and you start thinking about what you're going to do to Bobby Lee." Okay, this was a guy who didn't scare worth a damn. And he knew how to lick Robert E. Lee's army and then went out and did it. Okay? That's what's necessary now. I reject the premise of your question. Trump is not some big, sexy lead. That's not what's going on out here. Trump is a studio head who has decided to destroy whoever was in his way and to pump up anyone who could make him look good and to fuck every actress on the lot. Okay, that's what he is. He's a pig. He's not a male lead who's sexy and people want to keep coming to see his movies. What he did was he validated people's hatreds. He came to them in 2015 and he said to them, "You should hate liberals. You should hate the Clintons. You should hate the elites. You should hate the media. You should hate the coasts. And in some cases, you should hate black people because they're all laughing at you." Well, I'm not fucking laughing at you. I'm going to punish them for laughing at you. That was his pitch. It's still his pitch. Okay? And people found that attractive because it made them feel better about the ugliest parts of themselves. Put that aside. That's not the issue now. The issue is that he had one great political insight, and only one. I think he's the most overrated intellect of all time. But he had one great insight. He knew that he could go to the Republican rank and file and say, the people running your party are morons. And that not only would the rank and file say, oh my God, he's right, but the people running the party would say, you're right, we are morons. And they all got on his back. Okay. In 2027, some Democratic leader is going to come to the rank and file of this party and say, the people running your party have led you off a cliff. Get on my back. That's the mountain we're climbing. I know how to get over it. And that person will be a messianic figure. No question in my mind. That person will be elected president in 2028.
Wow. What a great way to stick the landing. So that optimism informs a lot of your activism now. And
well, wait a minute. First of all, right now, 69% of independents say their income does not meet their expenses. 69%. 64% of Republicans say the same thing. Okay. There have been more farm bankruptcies in the first 3 months of this year than there were in all of 2024. And P.S., farmers take their own lives at a rate that is 3.5 times the general population. Okay. Trump is completely underwater, as I said, on immigration. Nobody thinks this is going in the right direction. Nobody likes the chaos of tariffs are in, they're out, they're happening, they're higher, they're lower, they're not, they're Canada, they're China. People need consistency from their government. And they do not support what is happening with ICE. And this is before Epstein has blown up. Okay? Take all of this into account. By November of 2026, this economy is going to be in a ditch because he's run it ineptly. And at the end of the day, in 2024, we were trying to sell joy to people who couldn't afford eggs. That turned out to be a bad idea. Wait until November of 2026, when people can't do anything. In 1960, the average age of a first-time home buyer in America was 23 years of age. Today, the average age of a first-time home buyer is 38. That is a seismic difference. And you can't run an economy for long on that. And by November of 2026, the world will realize, and America will realize, what Trumponomics look like.
Oh, yeah.
They
Well,
look
Trump
like
has.
They look like a $200 million ballroom in the White House while everybody else is off Medicaid.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's exactly right. He has no business acumen. And it's a shame, though, Billy Ray, that it'll have to be in the ashes of that economy that the Democrats again rise to power and have to do a cleanup job that is far in excess of any kind of cleanup job they've had to do in the past. I mean, in the recent past, anyway. You know.
It is true, but I believe that by then the American public will understand the full dynamics of the economic disaster that is being foisted upon them.
Real quick, you're still so instrumental in launching relevant show business projects, film, television. What's in the mix right now? What's in the pipeline? What's in the Billy Ray world from that standpoint?
Kind of you to ask. Really excited about a movie on which I was one of the writers called Animals that Ben Affleck just directed for Netflix. And I wrote the next Hunger Games, which is shooting right now.
That's Germany. Right. Yeah, Billy was the writer on the first Hunger Games. I know it went through some iterations.
And during the Writers Guild strike 2 years ago, I wrote a novel for the first time, and that will be published March 3rd of next year.
Oh my God, that's just awesome! I love it. I love it.
I wish I had a copy of it in my lap. I would hold it up for you because I have the advanced reader's copy.
You'll come back and we'll talk just about that, and we'll talk about animals and other stuff.
It's called Burn the Water, and you can pre-buy it on Amazon. Right?
What's it called? Say it again. The title.
Burn the Water.
Burn the Water. I love it. We'll find it. I'll tell you what, Tony, we can put a link to it, maybe to the pre-order underneath this video.
Oh,
okay, we'll do that. Yeah, and as I said, you'll come back and we'll do a whole conversation.
I love chatting with you.
Yeah, and right back at you. Really enjoy it. Billy Ray, everybody. Thanks, Billy. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.